All right, we are back. Lawyer Talk, DUI 360 and DUI Q&A. What does that mean? That means I got a question. This one comes from Tim Carnes 8770. That, Tim, this question is not specifically DUI, but it sort of is, and I'll get to it in a second. But first, let me thank everybody for subscribing, for liking, for getting involved and interacting with our videos on YouTube and elsewhere, because look, we love doing this. I love bringing you this content, and it feels good when I know that people are interacting and asking questions, sort of like the one we're going to answer today. You can also subscribe to our podcast at lawyertalkpodcast.com or wherever you normally subscribe to podcast. At the website, though, it gives us, there's a little link. You can just follow it and you can hit go or click and you'll subscribe. It'll also take you to all the socials where you can interact there and ask questions. All right, so here's the question. How do you protect yourself against interrogation alongside of the road? I mean, police are trained to ask questions to set you up. It's all subject to the officer's observation or opinion, whether he thinks you passed a test or answered him correctly. You can take a chance that they will be a good cop, but anymore, there are so many bad ones that no matter what you do or say, they have already made up their mind. To some extent, I agree. To some extent, I disagree with some of your premises, but the good news is it doesn't necessarily matter because we still have constitutional rights. So how do you protect yourself? Well, educate yourself. And that's what I'm doing right here. You have a Fifth Amendment right not to make statements to the police. So when you're pulled over, whether it's for a DUI or OVI here in Ohio or any other type of offense, you don't have to answer questions. Now that gets really awkward really fast. If a cop is standing at your window saying, what happened? What did you do? Most people feel compelled sort of from a human nature standpoint, or they feel weird if they don't answer the questions. But I'm here to tell you, if you've been consuming alcohol or you're worried at all about whether you've had too much alcohol to drink, you don't need to say anything to the police officers. Now, look, the obligatory, I had 2 beers or I had 2 drinks, that's typically what people say, or I had a few, or some people just flat out lie and say, I have not been drinking, when everybody and their mother, that is the police officer, knows because he's looking at you and he can smell your breath that you have been drinking alcohol. None of those are great options. The only option you have, it's sort of when maybe I've said this on this show before, but it's like you woke up in the middle of a minefield. You don't have the path out. You need a map to get out and you don't have it. The best thing to do is stay put. In other words, don't talk. And look, the police officer is not going to be happy about you telling him or her, I don't want to make any statements until I have a lawyer present, but you have every right to do it. Now, you might also ask, well, won't they just think I'm guilty? Yes, but guess what? As Tim has recognized, they already think you're guilty, whether rightfully or wrongfully, they think you're guilty. Now, what are they going to do? If I say, or if you say on the side of the road, I don't want to answer any questions, they're probably going to arrest you. If you say, I don't want to do any field sobriety tests, they're probably going to arrest you. I can't do anything about that on the side of the road, but what you're doing is when you call me or somebody like me who can help you later on when you're charged with crimes, you're giving us a lot to work with, or maybe better put, you're not giving the other side much to work with. So the best bet in any scenario is don't talk to the police. And I'm not saying be mean about it. You don't have to be a jackass about it. You don't have to be obstructionist about it. You can just politely say, look, I'd rather not make any statements until I have a lawyer. And the police will do what they're going to do. You just sort of have to accept one thing, or accept this. If you speak to them and tell them you've been drinking, you're either going to lie, you're going to minimize, and you're going to get caught. And they already think so anyway, otherwise they wouldn't be asking. You're going to end up in the same boat, in other words, as if you didn't say anything. So don't think that you're going to talk your way out of an OVI on the side of the road. You just won't. Now, there's a case. U.S. Supreme Court. Let's get eggheadish about it, but there's a case in the U.S. Supreme Court called Berkmer versus McCarty. Interestingly, a guy named William Meeks, Bill Meeks, who was my mentor here at 511 South High Street in Columbus, Ohio, actually argued the case in the United States Supreme Court. And the issue in that case was whether the police had to read you Miranda rights at a routine traffic stop. Bill Meeks valiantly argued that the police should argue Miranda at a routine traffic stop. Judge Al Travis, or then prosecutor Al Travis, who later became a Franklin County judge, argued vehemently against it in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. And lo and behold, the U.S. Supreme Court says, no, you don't have a right to Miranda rights read to you on the side of the road at a routine traffic stop. In other words, you're not in custody for purposes of Miranda. I'm not going to go into the depths of that. Maybe that's a separate breakdown. But the police don't have to read your Miranda rights. So back to the question, you have to take on the obligation yourself to educate yourself in advance and know, if I get pulled over, I'm not going to answer any questions, and it's perfectly acceptable to exercise that right. It is your Fifth Amendment right. Let's just say it's in the top 5 of the Constitution, so it must be important. Exercise it, and then you don't run into these problems. Now, some of the premises of the question I want to address, and that is, are all cops bad? No. Are all cops good? No. I don't care. And the reason I don't care is because we are all human, and the Constitution has baked into the equation protections against this. This is why we have rights to remain silent. This is why we have the Fourth Amendment. This is why we have a constitutional right later to get a lawyer and to present a defense if you do get charged. So the idea is to protect ourselves against bad actors. Can we always do it? No, of course not. And police will be police. Why? Because they're human, and humans are inherently subject to the various influences, I always call them money, power, ego, that drive us to do things that we're not always proud of, or others aren't always happy about. But if you exercise your rights, if you educate yourself and you do it the right way, even if you've made the mistake on the side of the road, at least you're giving your attorney something to work with, whether you're guilty or whether you're not guilty or innocent or whatever. So there we are. We have a DUI 360 and a Q&A all wrapped into one, thanks to Tim Carnes 8770, who left us a comment. If you've got a question or a comment or another topic you want me to cover, it's easy. Go to lawyertalkpodcast.com, send us an email, check us out in the comments, write us a question there. We'll do our best. We'll do our best to answer it right here at Lawyer Talk Podcast, off the record, on the air, Q&A style. Until next time.